Hi everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to go over the second of the 5 keys to hypnotic selling, which is my previous book, which was a bestseller on Amazon. You can still get it there on Amazon.com. It's under 5 Keys to Hypnotic Selling, James C2. The second of the 5 keys is intention. So what does that mean? Is it having a vague idea of what you want out of an interaction? No. In order to persuade powerfully, you must have a fixed goal in mind. Without that, you'll find that the rapport you build with the other person will, while having great interaction and probably will be fun, will allow that person to influence you rather than the other way around. This is not to say that you should steamroller the other person. And in the next few videos, I'll show you how to persuade by finding out and fulfilling what the other person wants. But in order to do that, it's vital that you know what you want out of an interaction and keep that firmly in mind. If you recall from the last video, link in the description below, when you go into an interaction with someone else, you'll be in a certain mental state, whether it's confident, playful, neutral, angry, whatever. And that mental state will interact with the other persons. When that happens, it is your intention that will bolster your mental state and actually lead the other person to your point of view. There's an old hypnotic axiom that you can't hypnotize someone against their will. I would suggest that in general it's true, except that most people have very little willpower to begin with, and their mental state generally falters against the certainty of strong intention. Another common way to talk about intention is to talk about it in terms of will or willpower. Have you ever had a discussion with someone where you were on diametrically opposing sides? The longer the discussion went on, either your position went farther apart or started to draw closer together. When they begin to draw closer together, it's likely that one or both of you began to shift your intention from winning the argument to creating an agreement. Like a sprinter, the conscious mind's willpower works great in short bursts, like, I won't have dessert today, and you don't. When you rely on your conscious mind, this resolve tends to erode fairly quickly. Some people have more stamina and some less, but over time it inevitably erodes. The unconscious mind is like a perpetual motion machine. For better or worse, it's always running and it's incredibly powerful. It's the area where habits, both good and bad, live. And when you learn to use it, it takes your intention from being something you do to being who you are. The term battle of wills is something that we have in our culture, and there are some who always seem to win these battles. That is because they've activated their unconscious and their will or intention to win is drawing on that power rather than their conscious. It's often expressed as a quiet confidence or level-headedness under pressure. When the will or the intention to win draws on the unconscious mind, it comes up with ways to win. So, here's a little exercise to begin training your will. Like anything else, the will needs to be trained, and here I'm going to make an arbitrary distinction between the will and intention. For the purpose of this training, the will is that conscious mechanism that you use to accomplish things large and small. It's generally a short-term duration mechanism like fast twitch muscles. It can be explosive, but it's also mercurial. It's easily overwhelmed over time or tricked because it's generally directional and generates its power in only one dimension at a time. The intention in this case lies in the unconscious, and it's more like a pebble dropping into a pool. It tends to generate outwards in many directions, generalizing in a person's life. It tends not to rely on constant checking, but once set in motion, it perpetuates until told to stop. Hypnosis and NLP are tools to access this incredible power and give it direction. So does that mean we should disregard the will? Of course not. Like every other resource we have, it has a purpose and can and should be strengthened. For me, one of the best uses of a strong will is to defend yourself from someone who has hypnotic selling skills. The best way to protect yourself from someone trying to use these skills on you is to set your will diametrically opposed to what the other person wants and leave. Over time, that person might be able to move you from your position, but in the short run, you'll be able to extricate yourself from that situation. And if it's something that is diametrically opposed to your criteria and values, then that person has very little chance of succeeding. So here's a quick exercise to train your will and help you get in touch with your unconscious to access your intention. Decide to develop a good habit. Now, I'm not saying to do the New Year's resolution thing. We'll probably have a video about that later on. But we all know how well that really works. And, I do have some ideas on how to really tweak that to really make it work for you. But first, we're going to start small. Let's create a bucket list of things that you want to change or want to add to your life. And, we're going to start with picking one thing on a difficulty scale, if the scale is 1 to 10, with 1 being something very, very small, to 10 being something huge. Start with 1. For those guys who are living with women, try putting the toilet seat down when you're finished using it. Because look, if you don't already do that, I guarantee you'll get positive feedback that will help reinforce your will. Then start doing other small things, like if you have to do something at work, like call someone, make sure you set the time to make the call and make it at the exact time that you set. You'll be surprised at how quickly and easily you get good at this when you start small. From there, you can play with other things on your list, eventually hitting those at the 10 level. At the very least, you'll have a tremendous feeling of accomplishment by achieving the things on your list. The next step will be aligning the intention with the will. And you can find more about that in my book, The 5 Keys to Hypnotic Selling. So, for more information on coaching programs, sales programs, or learning NLP or hypnosis, go to jc2consulting.com. And I will be back with the 3rd of the 5 Keys to Hypnotic Selling. And we will be, I'll be releasing a new book soon. So I hope you enjoy this. They'll go very well together. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to take a dive into my first book, The 5 Keys to Hypnotic Selling. And basically, there's a link in the description below in order to get a bit of clarity around these 5 basic but very key skills that will increase your influence and persuasion skills in every situation. After all, Every interaction is a sale, whether you're asking someone on a date, interviewing for a job, or convincing your friends to go to one restaurant as opposed to another. Your state is what you're feeling internally and projecting to the outside world. It's what you're thinking and the internal dialogue that you're running through your mind that creates the feelings that you end up projecting to people you're interacting with and directly leads to mindset, which can be made up of several states at the same time. But it all starts with developing and controlling the right state. Now, why do I say controlling? It's because by not controlling your state, it can be controlled or affected by the other person's state. Have you ever been around someone who just lights up the room and makes everyone feel better? Or do you know someone who's the proverbial wet blanket? Either way, that person is in a powerful state and is affecting the people around him or her. And you can too. So here's an exercise that you can do for state control. And this will allow you to build up a lot more confidence as you're going through any interaction. So you can use any state, and by that I mean a strong feeling that immerses you. There are three that I find especially useful: confident, playful, and curious. So for this video and this exercise, let's use confident to start. Now, you might wonder how to get a state of confidence, especially when you're not feeling really confident at the moment. I'm sure there's a time when you felt absolutely confident, right? And if you haven't, I'm sure you've interacted with someone who is absolutely confident. Now, close your eyes and imagine that time, or imagine what it was like to be that person who is absolutely confident. See what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel when this happens. Notice how your breathing changes, how you shift, how you're standing or sitting. Notice how the world looks now that you're in this confident state. Okay, now that you've got it, just let it go and think about what you had for breakfast this morning. Where did that come from? This is what's called a breaker state, something that takes you away from the state you were just in this case, confident. I'm pretty sure breakfast is a relatively neutral state, and by neutral I mean how excited can you be over a couple of eggs or a bowl of cereal? Now, notice how the world is different when you're in a neutral state. Is it different from when you're in the confident state? For me, it always is. So go back and forth between confident and neutral a few times to get the hang of it. The faster you do this, the faster your unconscious mind will get used to switching, and the easier it'll be to bring up and maintain this confident state. Play with this for now, and remember to go into this state during your interactions with other people. Notice the difference. Now, more exercises like this can be found in my book, The 5 Keys to Hypnotic Selling. For more information on coaching programs, sales programs, or learning NLP and hypnosis, go to jc2consulting.com. Link in the description below. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one.